You're listening to episode 45, my exclusive interview with award-winning author and Christian counselor Faust Ruggiero. Welcome to the Rock Your World Naturally show, sharing God's prescription for total health in spirit, soul, and body. I'm your host, Rekishia McMillan, award-winning author, Air Force veteran, and total health coach. I'm passionate about sharing biblical truth, scientific research, and practical lifestyle approaches to help heal your world naturally. Are you ready to unleash the power that has been inside you all your life? In this exclusive interview, I had the opportunity to host multiple award-winning author and Christian counselor Faust Ruggiero. We discussed the Fix Yourself Handbook, presenting the process way of life, a step-by-step program that can transform your life into one that is happy, healthy, purposeful, and content. The process way of life is the product of over 20 years of Faust Ruggiero's research and practical counseling application. In the summer of 2016, Mr. Ruggiero decided to develop the Process Life program into a text that can be published and would help people in need address the difficult situations that are affecting their lives. The Fix Yourself Handbook has received multiple awards to include the Silver Award from the Nonfiction Authors Association, Gold Award from Literary Titan, and Bronze Award from Reader's Favorite. It is your guide on an exciting and enlightening journey that will touch every part of you. As you listen, you'll discover that the process way of life creates one of life's most exciting and wondrous life journeys, and yours is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the show multiple award-winning author and Christian counselor, Faust Ruggiero.
Thank you for inviting me.
I am so looking forward to this interview and what is in store for our listeners on today.
Well, for me, I counsel full time yet. I've been doing this for about 30 years, and then we're promoting the book, and I'm hoping that it'll start moving people away from the conflict and all the stuff the world does to us, and back into a position of faith and hope, and we can see that there's still some light in this world.
Oh, absolutely. And so you shared, Foss, that you have been in counseling for 30 plus years or more, so several decades as a counselor, serving a multitude of different populations, whether that's children, seniors, veterans, substance abuse, those who have been plagued with that. And as you've counseled over the years, I'm sensing that there were some emotional patterns that you saw through the work that you were doing with your clients.
Always, I've done this for a long time, and you come out of graduate school, you're primed and ready to go. They taught you everything you were supposed to know, and then you get into the real world, and a good portion of it applies, but then you start to realize you've got to, really look at what's going on and do some audibles, so to speak. You really have to change up what you're doing, and if you come from a good foundation, and I'm fortunate that I come from a family of faith. I was always able to take that foundation and then just allow it to branch. And so by doing that, I was able to put together a nice program, what I call the process way of life. And I've been working with that for the last 20 years, and it's really been a nice program for me to help people with.
Oh, and as you shared, and I can certainly relate to you in the sense that, whether you go through grad school, you come out, what you are presented in textbooks is a very different reflection of real life situations that you face, because there's no one cookie cutter way of living this life, and everyone comes with a different set of whether it's challenges that they face, whether it's emotional trauma that they've experienced. And so, as you said, that you had to kind of make some audibles to help those that you served. And so, out of that, the process way of life developed.
That's correct. I uh, started to put the program together, and as I was doing that, I was realizing that no matter what we do in our life, day to day, our bigger philosophies, whatever they are, they all come down to the processes we use to get there. And I mean, everything. As I open the program, I start with telling people to take their life off what I call autopilot and stop following the crowd and think about where you are and where you want to go. And then we start working with those processes with honesty and trust and hope and faith and all the kinds of things that are getting in the way of the way we should conduct our lives. It gives and people are taking this and realizing that if we break things down and start looking at with all the processes, uh, we can really define a life that makes some sense. And so, again, for me, everything I do, as you were saying, life is different than it is in textbooks. It doesn't matter what I do for whatever reason. It always comes back to faith. Faith always seems to be the
Yes.
guiding light. It seems as though that's the primary, and then all the education and experience that I can refer back to that. So, a friend of mine who was a minister read the book and said, I don't know if you realize this, but everything you've done is consistent with Scripture. And I had not realized that. I didn't
Mm.
have that in my mind when I did it. So, that's kind of like my autopilot, if you will. That's where I go and that's what I
Mm.
bring into the program and into my counseling.
Oh, and I think it's so interesting that you say that because in one of the areas that I read, how you were saying that the scriptures are aligned with the work of the process way of life. And so many times I see it that individuals may only address whether it's one particular area, whether that's the physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, the intellectual health. So there's those four components. But it seems like this program is like holistic in a way that it addresses all of those areas, Faust.
You're right on the mark. The design of the program is to help people move to what I term in the program internal balance. And the way I present this to people is I'll say, look, think of the day when you were your happiest, when things seem to go really well. It's probably a day where, physically your body felt good. You weren't too overly excited. You weren't tired, anything like that. Intellectually, you weren't conflicted. You weren't being challenged by all different kinds of things. Emotionally, you seemed to be quite, just having a nice, easy flow that day, nothing taking you out of balance. And then spiritually, you feel connected. If we can keep working to that every day, then things begin to get better. And that's what we're looking for. I don't know that there's a point where you ever get to complete internal balance,
Mm.
but we can certainly work in that direction. And it's just about, again, taking care of your body, your mind, your emotions, and your soul.
Mm. And I love that holistic approach to health because I think so much of what we see today, again, whether that focus is just on one component of who we are, you got to get physically healthy or you have to get mentally healthy, but neglecting the spiritual part of who we are as well as the intellectual. And so I just love the fact, again, that it addresses all of those different attributes to bring about that inner balance that you speak about.
The hardest thing for people to do, that I can tell people how to deal with their bodies. Let's get to sleep and let's, eat properly and don't overly challenge your body, all those kinds of things. You can talk about getting your emotions in order and they work with that well. And we get to conflict and, the brain and how to reason through things. And then I get to the spiritual part, and
Mm.
that's when either they're going to buy in completely, or I hear all the excuses. There's something out there, it's bigger than me, and I understand that, or I'm not really connected, or I get people telling me they want to do it in moderation, and I say, well, if you're willing to challenge yourself with everything else, Why
Yeah.
don't you try the spiritual side on for size, so to speak, and see where you can go with it?
Right.
Read, take scripture out, read it like you'd read any other book, and
Mhm.
really get into it and see where it goes, because I don't think many of us are willing to challenge ourselves in that direction.
And that's so, so true that, sometimes it's about getting out of our comfortable spaces and stepping into oftentimes those uncomfortable spaces that's going to really be the catalyst in a sense to help bring about that change that we need. And I just think that with the process way of life, it's just a wonderful program. And from what I've gathered, it's helped, thousands of people to really grasp a hold of life.
And I think that's the beauty of the program. If you're willing to put yourself into it, because the key component, the thing to look at is that it's not a quick fix. There's a lot of that fix yourself in 7 easy steps kind of stuff out there. This is a
Mhm.
program for life. And I always tell people, well, if you really feel good about yourself, you want to love yourself, you feel like you're worthy of being,
Mhm.
why would you not want to get up every day and and have something in your life that makes you feel good,
Yeah.
that you can say, gee, well, I'm a little off today, but I remember that chapter in that book that told me about my anger or about
Yes.
fear or those, and I can go back there and work with that. If you have that every day, you tend to move away from those superficial quick fixes that they make things great for 5 minutes or for the day, and then you pay the price after, or you have to keep on doing that thing over and over again, and you never seem to get that internal part of you in order.
That's so true. And as you and I both know, Foss, that life can present some pretty complex challenges, whether that's stemming from emotional trauma that happened in childhood that can really create deep levels of brokenness for so those who are listening, Foss, that are saying, my life right now, it's just, I don't see any way that I would be able to repair or fix or even, envision myself at a different place. For those that are in that space, can this program work for those types of individuals as well?
Those are exactly the people that this works well for. Anytime we feel broken, if you will, we look and we say, there's no way to put this back together. And there's always a way to put it back together. All we do when people come into the office, I establish a starting spot with them. I say, okay, fine, let's just look at where you are right now, today. Let's not be thinking about how much work you have to do, because if you do that, you're looking at a mountain, and no one wants to climb that. Let's just look at what we're going to do today. And every day
Mhm.
we're going to keep on doing that. And we're going to look at all different kinds of things. Most programs, most self-help books are designed to fix two or three or four problems. It's how to strengthen your emotions or whatever it may be. And in the way I put the program together, there are 36 problems in there.
Mhm.
Each chapter is very, very short, 3 or 4 or 5 pages. And what's different in the program is that at the end of every chapter, with every problem we're dealing with, I tell people these are the exact steps you need to take. If you do these things and you keep on doing it, things are going to get better. And that's always been my problem, not only with counselors, but with self-help books, is that they'll present everything and people are saying, yeah, I'm getting the same story over and over again, but no one says, now do this.
Yeah.
These things, exactly do these things. You'll get there.
Oh, and I think that's so good. And one of the unique things that I enjoyed what you just said is that you take individuals through the process step by step. And if I'm not mistaken, the process way of life has 52 internal processes.
That's correct.
Okay. And so someone could really use this on a weekly basis, whether it's one process for each week of the year. Was that intentional, Foss, when you designed the program?
It wasn't. I broke everything down into what I thought I was seeing over and over again with people. The anger and the fear and boundary setting and people pleasing, all different kinds of things. And and actually when we initially wrote the book, there were about 70 or 80, but we realized that we can condense those a little bit more efficiently, and it came out to 52. And then
Mhm.
what I do with each chapter, let's say we're talking about anger, I will then list the which of those 52 processes will apply to the chapter on anger. So as it's not like you're trying to figure out how to apply 52 processes because that'll be overwhelming, but there might be 7 or 8 processes in any particular chapter that help support what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go in that chapter.
Mhm. There's something that you also mentioned, Faust, about the progression from confused and conflicted to one of faith and gratitude.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that to our listeners?
Absolutely. I start from the beginning when I say conflicted and confused, and that can be, just the way you've lived life. But for a lot of people, it is the breaking point. It's when you finally get to the point that you say, "I'm going to do the work." And a lot of times we don't begin to change anything until we feel it's broken, till it hurts, till we're afraid or we're angry, and we see that we can't figure out which way to go. Sometimes that's not bad. That's what gets you started. And then we start working and we start tearing through all the information, and we're getting honest, and we're getting our emotions kind of just putting them out of the way a bit so we can allow our minds to work with factual information. Now we start moving forward and we put all the programs in place. And we start working with the things that are confusing us, that are hurting us. We start to realize that life does have a natural flow. And if you're a Christian and if you have faith, you know that already, that there's a natural flow to everything. And once you realize that and stop fighting it and stop going with the flow that the world decides, because that there's really no worldly plan when you think about it. It just
Mhm.
goes day to day, and it's usually whatever makes you feel good. So we start looking at the natural flow. We start to realize that we have to live our lives one day at a time, stop setting huge destinations, and realize that it's a journey. Every day we're going to live that, because what I teach people is stop trying to set these grandiose destinations up and look for all the glimmer and the shimmer in the world. You should be able to love your life day by day, hour by hour, second by second. You should feel good about all that. And I teach people how to go through that particular process. As you do that, you start to realize that through things like gratitude. I talk about gratitude from the inside, not I'm grateful because I got something or something went my way.
Mm.
My gratitude starts on the inside, and then it wraps itself around everything that comes into my world. It's a whole different way to look at gratitude. When I talk about humility. Everybody wants to have the information and be wise and gain all that wisdom, but you can't have wisdom without humility, because if you do, you stop learning.
Mhm.
You feel like you've arrived at some place, and so I teach people how to get to that wisdom, and through that humility and that type of gratitude, we get a wisdom that is steeped in humility, and that's really the preparation, the preparing ground for faith. And when we get there and we realize that we don't have all the answers, and we want to connect to something bigger than ourselves, particularly for me, being a Christian, it's Jesus. Then you start to realize it's not just acquiescing, it's not just feeling small. You actually
Yes,
connect yourself to the hugest power in the world, and
that's right.
through that humility, you begin to understand it. Now we're at a point where we feel faith, and then we start to understand that love is not intellectual or something of the heart. Love is spiritual, and that's
Mhm.
and I think when we get all that in focus, we start to understand what our world is all about and how we fit in it. And then we get into service for others, and that kind of just caps it all off, because nothing we do, in my mind, has any significance until it's turned into service for other people.
Oh, that's so good. And just even as you were talking about that, and just talking about the humility and approaching this process in such a manner that we're willing to be open and we're willing to learn. And after we've embraced that, then we can give what we've received back to others. And I think that's such the way of Jesus Christ when he walked the earth, that Truly, he was a humble servant, always willing to meet individuals at the point of their need, but he was always out serving others and giving that love back that he had. And so it's such a wonderful example. And I love the fact that you've mentioned that, as part of the process way of life.
You said it a few moments ago, is who's the program for, and those that are really conflicted. Well, again, you go back to scripture, and Jesus didn't come down here for the rich and the beautiful and the ones that are
Mm,
broken and the downtrodden. So again, if I'm putting a program together and I'm going to follow scripture, it's great for the people who maybe have a lot and they just want to tweak their lives. But those that are really, really conflicted, if they can understand the whole message and stay with it, things change, and those are the people that I really want to help. I said I've been counseling for 40 years and 32 now in private practice, and I can't say that I've ever met anyone that I didn't see as a gift that someone the Lord brought to me, and anyone that I just couldn't wrap myself around and love them. If you take people one at a time and
mhm.
really, really invest yourself into them, you find some wonderful gifts in everyone that you meet.
Oh, absolutely. There is hidden treasure that's, I think, buried in each and every one of our lives, and bringing the beauty of what that looks like comes through the different things that we experience in our daily lives.
And it does. And again, with that humility and that gratitude, when people come, when people, I'll see a new person tonight, and I know that person will walk in the door, and I know I'll be presented with wonderful gifts, as you say, if I open my mind and my heart to it, and be willing to look for those, be humble enough to say, okay, I have some gifts that the Lord gave me to help this person, but I am by no means an expert. I'm a conduit, if anything. And whatever I get. And I know that when people come in my office, I know that it's not my expertise, it's the Lord's. And He
Mhm.
just puts me in a position to help His people. That's a different way to look at life rather than I'm the expert and I have the answers for them.
Oh, and that's so good because he is ultimately our divine counselor, and who better to provide that guidance to those of us who are counseling, than from him.
It's funny. Sometimes I'm counseling someone and it's getting a little deep, and I'm wondering, okay, where am I going to go with this? And all of a sudden it comes, and I'll give them what they need. We'll talk it through, and they get the message. And I'll just say, where in the that didn't come from me. I know that was way above my pay grade, as they say, and so at that point, I'm in my mind giving a little thank you to the Lord, and then we keep moving on.
Sure. Now, in the work that you do, Faust, with the counseling and using the process way of life, have there been any times where there have been situations that have been more difficult than others to work through the process, or what does that look like? Or have there been, again, more challenging issues that may take a little more time as people are working through these 52 internal processes?
Yeah, it depends on two things for me, as far as I've seen. One is the level of trauma, and the other is the commitment to work. And I tell people that changing your life is about learning, and learning is about repetition over time. So it takes time to get to the program, but and really working and make it part of your life, just like anything else. But when it comes down to the trauma, the people that have been traumatized the most, traumatized from childhood on, um, sexual abuse, those types of things, those are people I have to work very, very, very hard with.
Mhm.
They're also those folks. Abused women are one of my specialty clientele, if you will.
Mhm.
Working with them for a long time, and that's another one where a woman came in once and said, "How are you, a man, understanding all this?" And then she happened to be a Christian, and I said, "Well, I think you probably have the answer because I don't.
Mhm.
It just happened, and maybe I was that one male where people said, "Wow, I can go and he understands me." Um, you know, it's people like that. It's people who have PTSD, people coming back from wars and things like that. Those are hard people to work with because the trauma runs deep.
Right.
The trust isn't always there immediately, so there has to be a lot of bonding and we have to create a rapport. But it's like anything else. You take people one at a time. It's one day at a time. Just as I'm telling them to live, that's what we're doing as I'm counseling people. And I also let them know that they're not broken. They're not. We're not casting anyone out here. Everyone has a purpose. The Lord didn't create you because He didn't want you. Obviously,
Mhm.
we're going to move forward. We just have to find what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you have been doing this work for over 4 decades now, Faust. And
Mhm.
so, what is it that has really motivated you to do the work that you're doing?
For me, I think it was answering a call.
Mm,
I've been I've been the go-to kid since we were in junior high school. I'm a good listener. That's the skill I think I have, and people would always come to me, and I just always felt at my best. I think I'm just an in-service person. I enjoy that. Some people you know, enjoy other things. When I have a chance to help someone, I'll seek those people out. So that's something that just consistently makes me feel good. Um,
mhm.
and I know I have something to give them. So, I'll give it as long as I have it.
That's wonderful. And so, with um, the handbook, Faust, I know that some individuals they may work well in a group setting or an individual setting. Is there a way that you found that an individual can work with this book in a specific manner, or is it specific to the person? What have you seen?
I've seen both. Most people are taking it from the beginning and going chapter at a time. So a lot of people now are beginning to work it together. I have people coming in the office that said, "Gee, we got the book," and we went home and we started working it a chapter at a time and working it together and talking about it back
Mhm,
and forth, which really was a nice thing to hear. A lot of married couples are using it. And
mhm,
it was never meant to be a marriage handbook, uh,
mhm.
but obviously, if you use all the processes, your marriage is going to be stronger because the program is designed to make you a stronger person inside. And so that any problem that comes along in your life, you should be able to use this program for.
Yeah, and I think that even now, as we're still, in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, where many things are happening virtually, I know there's like a lot of virtual book clubs, a lot of virtual meetups happening, and this could truly be a wonderful tool resource for those that are really looking to establish some goals and get that balance that Foss has shared with us on today. And so, for those of our listeners who are out there, Foss, can you tell them how they can get a hold of your book?
Absolutely. I have a website. It is my name, faustruggiero.com. A little bit about me in there, but most of the website is about the book. If they're interested, they can go there. They'll find chapter outlines for each of the 36 chapters. So you can get a real good idea what the book's all about and whether it will work for you. You'll see all the media things I've done, so you can hear me if you're concerned about a little bit more information. You can find where to buy the book, and it's typical Amazon, Barnes and Noble, that kind of thing. Excerpts from the books is there, and then you can contact me if they're interested and have any questions. And I'm pretty good about getting back to people.
Outstanding. And are there any parting words for individuals out there that want to take this journey, Faust, of repair and fixing their lives? What would you say to them?
I tell them that, yeah, please understand that everything you have, everything you need to move forward in your life is already inside you.
Mm,
Don't let anybody tell you it's not. We weren't created, that thing about we're created equal. Well, that's what it talks about. Everything you have is inside you. You just need to
yes.
learn how to go inside and get it.
Yeah.
champion your strengths, move out what doesn't work, and begin to live your life in a happy fashion. But no, it's already in there. All I'm doing, people like me are just saying, here, let me help you go in and get it. We'll reorganize it and we'll help you use that so that you can be a happy, productive, and a very grateful person.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that insight, that wisdom. And I've been truly blessed by this interview, as I know so many that are out there listening will. And it has truly been my pleasure to host you on the show today, Faust.
And Rekishia, it has been a pleasure to be here. I thoroughly enjoyed our time together.
Oh, thank you so much and have a blessed day.
And you too. Thank you.
For speaking engagements, health tips, and total health education and inspiration, visit rockyourworldnaturally.com and on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, Rock Your World Naturally, and on Twitter, Rock Your World 28.